Let's bring in Alex Conant in our Washington bureau. He's a CBSN political contributor and former communications director for Senator Marco Rubio. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, good to see you, Elaine.
So President Trump called out the conservative House Freedom Caucus, and on NBC, Budget Director Mick Mulvaney said the party's moderates were also partially to blame. What message is the White House trying to send to Capitol Hill right now?
Well, I think Director Mulvaney also said that there was a lot of blame to go around on all sides. The president, as you just point out, tweeting out direct attacks on the Freedom Caucus, making that weird tweet about about the Fox show last night where they called on Speaker Ryan to step down. I think they're trying to point fingers at everybody but themselves. But the bottom line is this. Healthcare reform was always going to be a heavy lift, but Trump's failure to even get it off the ground is a serious concern for his agenda moving forward. So I think while they are trying to avoid blame right now, there must also be a lot of introspection happening at the White House right now to determine how do we not let this repeat itself on the other items on his agenda.
Well, Alex, I want to put up this quote from Oklahoma Republican Tom Cole. Quote, "There's a group of people in this party who just won't say yes. At some point, I think that means looking beyond our conference. The president is a deal maker, and Ronald Reagan cut some of his most important deals with Democrats." Has the failure of this bill, you think, Alex, changed Democrats' incentives to work with the Trump White House or not?
Well, I don't think they ever had much incentive to work with him, and I think seeing that they by opposing him and partnering with a couple of other Republicans can defeat his agenda, they're going to be even more incentivized to do the same. Look, you can be the world's greatest negotiator, as Donald Trump claims to be, and still not be able to make a deal if the other side of the table has no interest in compromise. And the Freedom Caucus is famous for not ever compromising. That's in fact what makes them the Freedom Caucus. So I think this is going to be an ongoing problem for Trump, but he's made his own problems worse by being so partisan over the first 50 days of his administration, by targeting Democrats, signaling them out time and time again. And now as his poll numbers drop further and further, he's below 40 as of last week, there's even less incentive for Democrats to work for him. So he's in a bit of a catch-22 at this point.
Well, Alex, the president, as you know, is reportedly questioning Speaker Ryan's advice to make health care the first priority for Congress. Help us understand, why does the order of legislation matter?
Well, it matters because there is such a thing as legislative momentum. So you want to pass something that you're confident can get through, and then you'll have more political capital to say, okay, we did this, now let's do the next thing. Also, in this case, on the healthcare issue, because of some rather arcane budget rules, doing healthcare first, in theory, would make the budget easier to do for tax reform. But that's a very inside the beltway argument. Obviously doesn't go over very well with most people who just want to see lower taxes and healthcare reformed, basically the promises that Donald Trump made on the campaign trail.
Finally, Alex, I want to shift to this split in the House Intelligence Committee after Republican Chairman Devin Nunes informed the White House about surveillance on the Trump transition before informing his Democratic counterparts. Calls are mounting for an independent commission on Russia. What do you think the prospects are for that?
Well, they're certainly better after this last week where you see all of this dysfunction in the House Intelligence Committee spilling out into the public. By all accounts, the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is having a very similar investigation, seems to be going much more smoothly. At least we don't see the sort of leaks and public finger pointing that we do on the House side. But I would caution, and this I think is for both Republicans and Democrats, having a special commission does not solve all of the problems. In fact, in some ways, it lengthens the issues. I think that there is a rush for the public and for Democrats and for Republicans in Congress to want to know the truth about what happened in the 2016 election so that we can move on, so we can address the issue and move on. Any sort of special commission would extend the investigation by years, and that it certainly doesn't help the Trump administration, but it's not clear that that helps the American people or Congress.
All right, Alex Conant in Washington for us. Alex, thanks so much.
Thank you, Elaine.